And now it's time for Half Hour to Health. Sit back, relax, and find out how you can live a better life. Here's your host for Half Hour to Health, Dr. Stephanie.
Good morning and welcome to Half Hour to Health. I'm Dr. Stephanie from Crossroads Chiropractic, and I have a very special guest with me this morning. He is an author, Rocco Boulay. He's the author of Getting Things Off My Chest. Also a local celebrity here in New Hampshire. He's broken 13 world records and held 5 world titles, and that was in powerlifting. Is that correct?
That is correct, Stephanie, and thank you for having me on the show. Also, I'd like to congratulate you and everything you've done in the health and fitness arena, and also to your lovely daughter, who seems to be on the news more times than I even can open up Facebook. I always see her there and tell her I say congratulations.
I will. Thank you. Thank you. So, Rocco, you have been a fitness competitor. You've been a fitness coach. You've owned gyms. Now you're an author. What inspired you to write a book after all you've accomplished?
I think mostly my frustration with watching people struggle with their health. I've seen so many people join fitness centers year after year only to fail time and time again. And it's because they don't understand what the fitness center offers, and they don't understand what they should be doing once they get there. And it's frustrating because it's so easy to fix, but no one has taken the time to show people how to get that done.
Mm-hmm. So you have written a book that I just read while I was on the plane. It was fantastic. And there was a lot more to it than just here, eat this, or here, lift these weights. Like, there's so much heart and soul that went into the book, and a lot of why. So tell us a little bit about what brought you to fitness and how your path got you to where you're at now.
Are you talking about the story where they threw me up into the ceiling?
That was a memorable one.
That was pretty embarrassing for a 14-year-old to. I think it was my morning English class when I get in there, and there was two. I think I wrote in the book 2 bullies who were the types of guys that stayed back about 100 times. They had full beards and mustaches, and each weighed about 250 pounds. And they thought it would be funny to stick me up at the ceiling and humiliate me in front of the whole classroom, which made me feel awful. I was 105 pounds soaking wet. And then in the book, I actually show a picture of myself. It's not a very vivid picture, but you can see that I think I look more like David Cassidy than Superman in that picture. And unfortunately, it was what spurred me to decide to change and become a stronger, more fit individual and be able to defend myself.
So you found the gym before the gym was the place to be. You grew up in Manchester and ended up at the YMCA, lifting weights.
I think during that time it was a very esoteric thing for people to go to fitness centers. I mean, you looked at Muscle Men back then, and I think it was the dawn of the Arnold Schwarzenegger era, even a little bit before him. Other bodybuilders like Steve Reeves or Dave Draper, probably names that you don't even know who they are, but they were the initial inspiration for me to want to become more of one of those superhero muscle guys. And the Manchester YMCA actually had a place where you could perform all those exercises. And I remember walking in the doors and getting my gym card or my YMCA membership, and I want to say it was like $4 or $5, and it was green, and the person just actually stamped it and wrote a couple initials on it. You were good to go. That's how simple it was, and it was very archaic and dark and dingy, but it was the dungeon where most of us bodybuilders at that time worked out.
So fast forward now, you've owned several gyms. You've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people regain their health. And yet now looking back, you're ready to write a book, and you're still preaching, I think, probably the same thing you've been preaching for decades, which is for people to take responsibility and to learn for themselves how to care for their body.
Well, yeah, lots of things changed during that time. So, even before you were born, I was still running around as a young kid, and we did a lot of things physically. Prior to the information age, we were very active. We played sports even aside from going to the YMCA to work out. We went out and we played football, baseball, anything that we could do that was physically active. And back then, the foods weren't the same foods as we eat today. The processing of these foods has really caused a huge problem with the health of people, and that's the reason why we see kids 5 years old starting to develop metabolic diseases such as diabetes and so forth. And people are struggling with how do you repair these conditions that are relatively easy, because we have to get back to eating the foods in the purest forms and being able to get enough exercise where we can maintain a healthy level of body composition, which we don't have right now. And that's why the fitness centers are I think they're so important to understand how to use, and it's not the cardio. It's being able to figure out how you do the resistance training or the weight training to get back that lean body mass that most people are missing now, so that even if your diet isn't perfect, you'll be able to burn off those excess calories because you have the lean body mass to do so.
So what do you think keeps people from learning how to do the resistance work for themselves?
It's intimidating. People who have joined, let's put it this way, 60 million people in this country out of 330 million that we have are members of fitness centers, but only 8 million go. Why is that? When typically, if you understood how to maintain lean or acquire lean body mass and fix your food, it would be the best deal in the world to go there. I mean, it's better than having health insurance because you would never really have any type of sicknesses. But people don't understand what to do once they get in there. And I watch it happen over and over. Every January, people will migrate to cardio. They push the quick start button, and for some reason think that the time they're going to lose, the 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 pounds that they've gained over their lifetime, and it doesn't happen. And then they get frustrated and they leave again, because that's not where the problem lies. The problem lies in changing the high levels of carbohydrates people are consuming and regaining the lean body mass that we once had as back in the early 60s, 70s, and even part of the 80s. It's gone. People don't have any lean body mass anymore. Even if they are thin, they're what we call skinny fat because they have no muscles. And those muscles, that lack of musculature really reduces what's called their metabolic rate, and therefore, no matter what they eat, it just goes on as body fat. Put simply, I mean, there's more metabolic process happening behind the scenes of that, but for the sake of our conversation, they have no way of being able to burn the excess calories.
So what's your recommendation to somebody that might be listening that just truly doesn't know where to start with resistance training?
In my book, in Chapter 8, I actually reveal a kind of a trade secret that we developed, and I know that you've used our program before in the past, that actually evaluates the capacity or the current baseline of an individual so that their starting point when training with weight training isn't overwhelming. It's what I would call the Goldilocks principle. It's not too easy and it's not too hard. If you can get people to just start at a pace that feels comfortable for them, and they're not going to leave the fitness center feeling they've been run over by a train, you can get some success out of those people because it doesn't overwhelm them with too much soreness or too much exercise in particular. So we've how to evaluate what's called that baseline, or what's called the submaximal 1 repetition maximum. And I teach people mathematically how to do it. Whether they want to do it or not, it's up to them. We will also be providing in our Gym Doctor program, which we had in an earlier conversation, with people that can just hire a coach to do that for them. But for all intents and purposes, if they want to use the book and figure out their 1 rep maxes, then I show them how to design a complete workout from start to finish, and they're all 8 weeks long. So after the end of the 8 weeks, they go back and they use these same formulas over and over again, and they can get as healthy and fit as they want in terms of strength training. It's all in the book.
So in the book, somebody can actually learn how to apply the formula to their own weightlifting.
That's right. They can create their own personalized program that fits them and nobody else. And that's never been shown in any fitness center since the day I've walked into the fitness centers back in 1972. They don't do it. They will come. A trainer will come out with a blank workout card, and they start writing down exercise, and they start taking you around and just asking you arbitrarily how the different exercises feel, and they say, here, you can start here. It's guessing. And it's not done by like an algorithm that we use, an algorithm that says, okay, if you're here, point A, in order to get to point B, this is the mathematics on how to get there. We tell them every set, every rep, and how much weight to use so that it fits them based upon that one rep maximum or sub-max test that they took prior to developing their own program. And you could do it in chapters 8 and 9. It's as simple as I could possibly make it, but it's not rocket science, but it is mathematics.
It is, and I was reading along, and I could follow along, and I think you did an excellent job explaining that and how to take care of yourself in the gym. You also mentioned in the book there was a little bit about sugar and then how to eat better, given that we have so much processed food and so many calories are coming from carbohydrates now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, well, the chapter, I don't know if it was 5 or 6. I think it was chapter 6, and all I put in that chapter was sugar. And I was trying to make a point that this was the biggest culprit to people not being able to get healthy, because everything contains sugar. You have to find it, whether it's blatantly on the label or it's hidden within the food. But sugar is the main problem with people who have diabetes and have metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, different things like cardiovascular disease, are all related to the overconsumption of sugar. So when I look at somebody who's trying to change the way they eat, I always look at things in a gradient. In other words, I don't want somebody to just give them something that's so overwhelming that they can't change. Some clients, I may just say, can we just start with eating a healthy breakfast and tell them what a healthy breakfast is. It may not contain much sugar. Now, everybody's so used to having bagels and with cream cheese or coffee with 8 teaspoons of sugar in it and all this other stuff that they don't think is really all that much sugar, but it's way too much sugar. So even just beginning with having hard-boiled eggs or even poached eggs with oatmeal and some blueberries or some nuts in their oatmeal, and starting with a breakfast like that, it's one step closer. They may be eating not so healthy foods for lunch and dinner, but at least it's a start. It gets them to say, can I do this? Mm-hmm. It's empowering them to become self-determined again, so that they're making that conscious choice instead of just being in a habit of saying every morning I get up and I have my Fruit Loops. Mm-hmm. Or my Lucky Charms, mm-hmm. which I don't know if you've seen the new food pyramid that just came out, but Lucky Charms ranks higher than a steak in health. So we that's it.
We got things backwards.
That's a radio show for a different day, but people have to start understanding and taking responsibility for their health, because the medical community is inundated with people who are so sick that if you think you're going to get the attention you need from your doctor, chances are that's not going to happen. If you think you're going to walk into a fitness center and get healthy just by means of walking through the door, it's not going to happen. That's why you have to understand these are the principles, these are the things that you need to understand in order to be able to take control of your life and your health again.
On the phone with us today is Rocco Boulay. He's the author of Getting Things Off My Chest. And we've got to take a break, but we will be right back here on Half Hour to Health.
Half Hour to Health will return after this.
Welcome back. You're here with a Half Hour to Health. I'm Dr. Stephanie from Crossroads Chiropractic, and I have fitness expert and author Rocco Boulay on the phone with me. He just wrote and released on Amazon Getting Things Off My Chest. It's a new book, and it's all about how to regain your health and be an advocate for yourself and take responsibility, because you can't expect somebody else to get you healthy. It really is up to you. And so there's so much wisdom in here. And one thing that struck me as I was reading the book was how you talked about TV and especially commercials getting at our subconscious and almost programming us in a way that we're not thinking for ourselves in regards to our health?
Well, I mean, it's been part of marketing since who knows when. I speak about Pavlov's dog experiment, or the model of classical conditioning, in the book, where Pavlov they were trying to test the digestive salivary glands of dogs to find out which foods would be the ones that would make us salivate the most. And how they did this is they put the food out and they would ring a bell. And what Pavlov had noticed is that even if there wasn't any food there, as long as he rang the bell, that the dogs would salivate. So that particular classical conditioning model was actually used in television and radio ads to get people to do the same thing. So, you hear things slogans that different companies have had in the past, such as, America runs on, donuts, or you can have it your way and it's the king of this, and, finger licking good. All these things that you've heard that are sitting in the back of your subconscious, is sitting there, is one of the reasons why people do some of the things they do, because that program has already been installed without your permission. And unfortunately, people will migrate to these different businesses because they already had them psychologically before they even had them physiologically, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. It's so dangerous.
So it's taking away a person's ability to make choices on their own because they're making your choice for you. People have to recognize that their choices have been taken away and take back that power again.
I find that watching a TV commercial, it's easy to just zone out because it's not the program I was interested in. And in the act of zoning out and not critically thinking about what is being fed to me, so to speak, it's even more dangerous because it's accessing my subconscious.
It is. I actually, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I actually study those commercials to find out exactly what they're trying to do. So I take it a little step further to be able to say, well, what are they really trying to do in this commercial? And I watch it happen. When in anybody's right mind would they say, I feel X way, and then say, I'm going to ask my doctor if this is right for me? Mm-hmm. A person needs to be able to do their diligence and find out what things they're suffering from, fix those things first, whether it be through food, exercise, or even some type of counseling long before you would just start putting chemicals in your body. It's insane.
It is, and it's become the normal.
Well, I don't know what normal is other than a setting on a washing machine at this point. but you can't. There is no normal. And if you feel normal, you're not right. You have to have something because you need to feel otherwise. And people don't really know what it's like to feel normal anymore. I've worked with so many people who have been on some of these antidepressants or these SSRIs, these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that they've been for so long that if you got them normal, that would feel strange to them. And that's a pretty sad state of affairs because normal isn't normal anymore. Normal is how you feel with, whether you've been on some of these medications, whether you're an alcoholic and you drink every day and you become clean, or whether you're a drug user. All of these things becomes your normal, so that being clean feels abnormal.
You make a good point because the body adapts. So whatever you're exposed to or whatever your situation is, that becomes your normal. And you can lose sight of what a healthy normal is because your body adapts and it becomes the new norm.
It's true. And for me, my whole life has been about feeling good. And I've never needed, and I'm not saying that I won't go out and if you called me later on this weekend and says, hey, we're out having margaritas, let's get together, that I wouldn't be there and I wouldn't have one. But it's not norm. It's something that I do every once in a while as a social activity, but I'm in control of that choice. I don't have to have alcohol. I don't have to have drugs. For me, my addictions are making sure that I exercise 3 to 4 times a week, that I choose the right foods 3 to 4 meals a day, and to make sure that I try to get adequate sleep, which is my biggest nemesis because I have one of those minds that never shuts down. Mm-hmm. But eventually I do fall asleep, and I think that's something that I still need to work on as an older adult and at this point, because my sleep isn't perfect, and I'd like it to be better.
So how important is a good night's sleep to your overall health?
It's important for a number of reasons. That's where your body does the most healing. And there's lots of hormones. In the book, I mentioned what's called SWS, or slow wave sleep, and that's within the first couple of hours of actually falling asleep, your body releases growth hormone. Now, growth hormone is the hormone that repairs just about every cell in your body as far as making you healthy and new again. And then after that, you go into what's called REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, and therein men increase their testosterone levels, women increase their estrogen and progesterone levels. That helps renew them as well. Those are the sex hormones that they basically keep you younger. So it's very important to get your sleep. There's lots of things that you have to understand about the components of being healthy, even hydration, your own ability to meditate and pull away from all of the negativity that's in the world today, and be able to say, I have to take care of me first before I can go out and live in a world where other people are struggling. Mm-hmm. And the people who can do that are the people who will survive best.
You make a really good point. So in society today, especially with television and social media and all of the screens that we have in front of us, it's like we become inundated with problems that are outside of our control, and it's easy to get into a stress cycle, or even be sucked into a negative environment that then does wreak havoc on your own physiology.
It is. You have what's called your circle of responsibility, and that's the things that you can control in your life. And then you have your circle of concern, which are things that sometimes you cannot control, but you have to control what's in your circle of responsibility first. What's in your general area, your own personal health, your family. Those are the things, your business first. And then once you can get control of that, then your next step is your circle of concern, which are other things that are related to you. My book is addressed as that circle of concern, because I know that me as one person can't do it. I have to convince other people that it's important to learn these things, but also to pay it forward and help other people learn how to take care of themselves as well. Therein lies the solution, but it's a humongous task to accomplish, and I'm just a one person at this time trying to move in that direction. There are other people, but from my perspective, is mostly getting people back into fitness centers and helping them understand how to get their physical abilities back and their physical health.
So if people want to get a copy of your book, easiest way is to go to Amazon. It's Rocco Boulay, Getting Things Off My Chest. And there's so much in that book, but one of my favorites is you have a list of all of the strength training type exercises and body parts that you should be working in a good workout, and then you give a mathematical formula to figure out how to start and how to progress, to not just have a willy-nilly you go in and use some equipment kind of experience. I
would pretentiously say that if people learned how to do that and stayed in the gym continuously doing that and eating somewhat healthy, I provided a kind of a meal plan framework in there. If you just even followed that closely, that you would probably get rid of many, many health conditions that people are suffering from today, and it won't cost you much more than the $14.95 that you pay for the book.
That is a deal, and I would
it certainly is.
I would encourage anybody to grab the book. What are other ways people can connect here in New Hampshire with you, or people that are doing work like you're doing?
Right now, we're actually starting to implement these systems into different fitness centers under the name Gym Doctor. We just opened up a new location out in Newmarket, New Hampshire, at a tennis and health club called Great Bay Athletic Club, I believe that's the actual name, where we'll provide these services so you don't have to do it yourself if you don't want to. We do it in both of my clubs in North Conway and also in the Gorham, New Hampshire areas, but after we get this Gym Doctor platform launched, they're probably going to be available almost anywhere in New Hampshire soon after, which I would say probably within the next 3 to 4 months.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for being a guest on the show today. Again, get a copy of this book. I really enjoyed it. Rocco Boulay, Getting Things Off My Chest, available on Amazon. We wish you a healthy, happy, wonderful weekend here on The Pulse. We'll see you next time for Half Hour to Health.